Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a Tactics Talk. Thanks for tuning in. What I've got for you today is a video on how to poke and brawl, how to time shots, how to poke, brawl, and time shots loaded into Redshire. You can see that it is a 5-10 battle, and I'm in a tier 8. Got 5 tier 9s. Pretty good setup for the IS-6. About as good as you can expect these days, the way the matchmaker is, even with a pref tank. Very difficult to get in a top tier battle. That being said, we're going to have a fantastic example because strength is going to meet strength over here. It seems like these days rarely do you get big brawls in the critical spaces, but Redshire is one where you still occasionally get both teams willing to push forward and attempt to take the other one down in a close fight. Obviously the city maps you see a lot of that, but on a map like Redshire often one team is kind of hanging back. But we're going to have a good example of that right here. You see that the WZ-111's come up, the IS-3. I've got a 112 up ahead of me, and he's side scraping here. And that's going to be a bit of an issue for us to work. We've got to kind of work through that. One of the problems with stacking a bunch of tanks up in a spot like this, and you've got 3 behind me and one off to my right, is if one of them's trying to side scrape, it can be very difficult to work the timing of shots. And what you want to do here then is a couple things. First, you don't want to just drive out. If I'd have jumped out there and looked for a shot, I'd have eaten at least 2, maybe 3, and that would have been about all my hit points, and I'm essentially out of the game. So you want to time their shots to the max extent possible, where you take shots and they can't return them, or very few of them that can be returned. At the same time, you want to minimize exposure and angle, maximize angle, so that you can get out, take a shot, get back, and present the worst armor profile to them that you can. Pike noses have a difficulty with an angle like I have, but I don't have a pike nose. I've got that infamous IS-6 flat nose, as does the 112 right here. We'll see what happens as we start working in here. The 112's already paid for it. Put a shot into 112, so their 112 just fired. I poke out just enough to take a shot on the 112. I go after the guy that's on the outside of their echelon, and I don't sell out. I kind of snapped that as I went out, because I knew if I went any more, once I started seeing that IS-3, he was going to have a shot on me. Didn't notice that T-34, but here he comes up. So I've traded pretty well there. 1 shot for nothing back. You'll notice that the 112 now is side scraping. Nice job hitting the T-34. I thought about going right there, but of course the IS-3 is reloaded. But he's poking so much, I'm able to hit him in the pike nose. So you'll notice that I hit the flat plate of the pike nose. The part of the pike nose facing me, the angle was better for me because he was coming in at an angle, flat plating it to me. Plus I've got one of my 6 gold loaded up, and I was able to punch through the front of the vaunted IS-6 armor. Now the 103, not a very fantastic player. He's going to be a bit of an issue. He could easily work this outside. 103 has that crazy, weird, you can look right there, curved front armor. He does have an issue with getting his front sprocket out there and getting pinned or tracked. But if he keeps that front armor curved and wiggles a little bit, it's very difficult for them to pin him without a really nice aim in there, especially for the WZ and the 112, unless they're firing gold. Of course, their gold is heat, which has trouble with curves. That leaves the IS-3 with his APCR being an issue. Of course, the T-34 has fantastic punch. And now we've got a JT 8.8. In addition, the guys on our right side are fighting another Super and an ST1. So we have quite the force to deal with right here. You can see the 112 doing his side scrape. That's good for him, bad for us. 8.8, I'm just waiting for him. Okay, Artie just went in. So Artie went in. I saw the JT fire. This is the timing. It's time for me to go, plus multiple others fire. I'll be honest, I don't know if every single one of them fired back there, but at least 3 of them did. So this is a good opportunity to poke. The other thing is you can use your teammates a little bit. The 112 has gone, so I figure if anyone's going to get, it's probably him. So I will come out and get a shot. Just got to wait for him to move back, get right down underneath the JT, and we're able to take this guy out with the low back behind me. Don't do this. See what this 103 just did? He was on the outside of the echelon. The 112 and I were learning to work together. Everything was pretty copacetic right here. We're both able to work it. He can hug the rock, come around the corner and barely expose himself. I can come around the corner a little bit. If the 103 stayed on my left side, he could have been picking off guys on the outside easily, but guess what he does? He repositions and rams himself right in between us. The 112 can't work now, right? He just cut the 112 off. Do not be that guy. Just absolutely awful. All right, I see the T-34 moving, and I know there's going to be a space right there. I can come out, not expose myself too much to the IS-3. The T-34 is moving, so his dispersion's terrible, plus he's not looking at me. A great opportunity to pop out, shoot, and pop back. You'll see that I take a hit, but I'm able to minimize my exposure, and I only take a hit to the track. Now we got the 103, or sorry, the WZ-111 has come forward. The other thing about being this 103 is he's taken a couple hits, and he doesn't really know what to do right here, right? Because he's jammed himself in between us, but now he's just sitting. He's got to be reloaded, and he's not doing anything but sitting there. This is pretty typical of bad players. And of course, just as I said, he starts moving, and he cuts off the 112, because why not? Same thing applies with the T-34 there. Timing-wise, once again, how to poke. I see him come around the corner. He's way too angled. He's put his side sprocket or his front sprocket out exposed. He fires. I know he can't return fire, and I have time to poke out, especially because I'm on the outside of the echelon, and take a shot. So the outside of the echelon gives you a couple opportunities, but it's also dangerous. If they are timing your shots well, then you're the guy that gets hit. These guys are not timing our shots very well. Plus, we are being well aided. At least we were. There was a low back there for a while. Now there's nobody. And it looks like the ISU is actually looking at him as well right there. But if you're on the outside, both opportunity and danger. And I'm able to capitalize it because we are being a little bit more offensive to them, controlling our pokes. The 112 kind of hits the corner of the T-34, much like they just did to me, because he was not really exposed. 103, okay, that's not bad. He got rid of the T-34, took one hit, and that's fine. We're starting to whittle these guys down. We'll put that right into the sprocket, or maybe up on the pike nose. Once again, because I am highly angled and he's firing heat, I'm able to bounce that right there. Heat hates angles. Okay, 112 does some good work. I really wish the 103 would have just got in there. Could have done some work on these guys. I'm going to ignore the 103, but shoot into a rock, unfortunately. You also notice that the Artie is now really enamored of me, even though he's got a low and a KB4 on the corner, which are well hittable right there. And so he's going to be trying to drop bombs on me and the 103 for the rest of the game. Okay, 103, or sorry, the IS-3. Come around and get a shot on him, and look at this 103. So I did cut him off. That's absolutely true, but he needs to get away from that corner right there. Well, Guido, how come it's okay for you to cut him off and not him? Look, he already proved he's an issue. Okay, I need to get rid of this stun. Already still raining on me. The 112, the KB4. KB4 should be able to deal with this 112. There we go. Got a wounded low, just trying to survive. And now I'm just taking stock of the situation. We've done some pretty good poking and prodding. I don't notice that my driver is dead. We've got a 111 there, looks good. Got an IS-3 and an ST-1, so now we outnumber them, even though one of us is a one-shot. Looks like the Artie dropped on them next. So they didn't completely focus on me. 103 gets in there. I feel like I can get in and kill this IS-3. Unfortunately, he does a nice job of angling, and I can't quite get away from him. I take a hit in the side from the WZ. That hurt. That was fantastic. 103 kills the IS-3. Alright, so that's one of the reasons why, and this isn't necessarily just about pushing, but when you're poking and trading and prodding, there is a time when you need to come around the corner and start finishing these guys off instead of bashing them in the face, get some side shots. Additionally, if you come around, you can get turrets to turn. You'll notice that as I came around that corner, that IS-3 was really pointing right at me. That gave the 103 an opportunity to come around, make a well-aimed shot, pin him, and kill him. A little teamwork right there. It's a little bit of spontaneous puppy teamwork. Alright, so that's exactly what I'm trying to do right there, is get into the ST-1 so I have some side shots on something I can pin, and he gives me just enough angle on the side of his turret that I can punch right through it. I'm also using this 8.8 as armor against the WZ, and you can see he just really wants me to poke out around that somehow so he can get a shot. The ST1, for some reason, is really worried about these guys, when really what he needs to be doing is pounding on me. Of course, if he turns his turret to me, these guys will have shots on the side of his turret. See how that all works? Now, I didn't notice until this guy came around me that there is a 1390 raging in. I could see it in the replay. And I saw him right about there. I went, oh boy, there's a guy on my side. I expected the ST1 to kill me right here. He bounces. Get a snap on the 1390. That is also the reason why the low, and the KV4 was already moving back, but that's also the reason why the low wasn't able to come around and kill this WZ-111 from behind. He noticed that 1390 and was just trying to survive that guy sweeping around him. See those two jokers back there, the 704 and the 152? Wouldn't it really nice if that 704 especially had moved up? We could own these guys. Okay, so I'm going to come around the side, look for the side shot on the ST1. He dies from somebody else. I still have the shell, so I'll put it into the lower plate of the WZ-111. And there you have it. We have cleaned up this side. There are 4 of us still alive, although we're pretty hammered. Overall, nice job of poking and prodding by this team. I'm about 3,600. I'm going to speed this up because there's not a whole bunch more to go. Just kind of a RNG takes one away and then gives it back. We're going 2 times here, and we'll see what happens. 34-3. So I see him. I'm thinking, all right, I'll just take this nicely aimed, zoom shot, fire and kill. No. And he gets away. Somebody kills him before I can. Oh, darn it. And what's going on? What about that super? And there's a Ferd. I stare at him for a little bit. Stare, stare, stare. Hoping he's coming around the corner. He won't. The 704 eats him alive. Then I see the WT, and he's trying to get away, and I just put a prayer shot. And there you have it, folks. RNG in World of Tanks. No sense looking at the rest of it. I don't get any more kills. There's a pretty good example right there of how to trade, how to time enemy shots, things to be looking for. You've got to pay attention to as many of their tanks as you can. If your technique is to drive around zoomed in quite a bit, you're going to miss a lot of those things. That's why I always harp on camera technique as far as pulling the camera out, especially while you're on reload, and seeing what on earth is going around you, so you can gather the essay on what the enemy's doing and make informed, good decisions with as much information as you can, especially even in close quarters, stuff like that, on poking and prodding and timing shots. And then, of course, minimizing your exposure as much as possible, and then understanding your tank's armor profile and using it. I hope you learned something. I hope you like what you saw. Make sure you subscribe if you did. I appreciate any kind of support you give to the channel. It helps it keep going, and we will see you.